We are seeing in West Virginia, about, what, a fifth, a sixth of the state can only use their water, their tap water, to flush the toilet. That's it. Don't allow it to come into contact with your skin at all, under any circumstances, in any way. We are seeing the ultimate example of how a libertarian society would work. Because in a libertarian society, government does not use force to regulate chemical companies, for example. You use the courts. So after people are harmed and after their businesses are destroyed and after their children start getting born with birth defects and after they start dying with cancers or whatever may happen, they then sue. I'm serious. I'm not making this up. This is the libertarian, the objectivist. This is Ayn Rand. This is Atlas Shrugged, right? The remedy is the courts. It's a little nuts, but excuse me. But here's where it gets really interesting. Freedom Industries? Good old red, white, and blue Freedom Industries polluting West Virginia. Freedom Industries was co-founded by a guy named Carl Lemley Kennedy II. He's a real patriot. He used to work as a snitch for the feds to bust cocaine dealers. Why? Well, because he himself had been arrested and pled guilty in 1987 to selling between 10 and 12 ounces of cocaine. And he got his sentence reduced by turning and becoming a snitch. But that's the small stuff. Right? Where this guy who owned this company that leaked this chemical into the water supply of West Virginia, where he really made his bucks. This is from the Gazette. And the Charleston Gazette in West Virginia. And I quote, Kennedy, this is the guy who's the co-founder of the chemical company, filed for bankruptcy in 2005 after he was charged with tax evasion and willful failure to pay employees withholdings to the government. Now, let me translate that. When, as an employer, you are required to deduct money from your employees' paychecks, and you do it every paycheck, every week or every other week or every month, however it's paid, and then on a periodic basis, and it depends on the company and the amounts and how they do it, but I believe that it's typically quarterly. But it's been a lot of years since I actually did. It's been actually a couple of decades since I did payroll myself, so I don't know exactly how often it has to be delivered to the government. But periodically, you then take that money, which is sitting in your checking account, and it's probably monthly by now. If it might even be immediate, who knows? And you write a check to the government and say, okay, here's the money that I withheld from my employees' paychecks. Here you go. Well, this guy took more than $1 million between 2000 and 2003 while he was the accountant for Freedom Industries. This very company. Quote, this is from the Charleston Gazette, he admitted that between 2000 and 2003, while he was the accountant for Freedom Industries, Poca Blending, and New River Chemical Company, so he was the accountant for 3 companies. He was the co-founder of Freedom Industries. He withheld more than $1 million from employee paychecks that he never passed on to the federal government, according to court filings. He also owed more than $200,000 in state taxes. Carl L. Kennedy II took steps to conceal a large portion of his income from the Internal Revenue Service, using corporate funds for his personal benefit and writing corporate checks to cash for his personal enrichment. So, this freedom industries, really. So here you have this guy who is a twice convicted felon in the chemical business, handling chemicals that, we really just don't need to check on. The industry will police itself. After all, the Tea Party tells us these government regulations are strangling business. And so this place had not been visited in many, many years. And meanwhile, this 4-MCHM, methocyclohexane, methanol, which is used to wash coal, by the way, interestingly enough, gets into the water supply in West Virginia. Libertarians must just be so, here's now we get to see how a libertarian system works. This is not apparently a regulated system. These tanks were not regularly inspected. And the marketplace will decide, right? Companies will simply decide, I don't think I want to buy from him anymore because he's got a bad reputation, because he didn't run his business well, because he polluted a watershed. You really think the coal companies, if this guy says, hey, we're going to have a sale on 4-MCHM. We're going to have a sale on 4-HMCHM, and I'm going to sell it at 30% off. Do you really think the coal companies are going to follow this libertarian theory and say, we're not going to buy from him because he has a bad reputation, when they can make more money? But, this is what small government looks like. West Virginia is like the epicenter of small government. There's, no functional tax base. The major industry is coal, and coal has basically bought most of the politicians to the point that they're relatively unregulated and pay very little in taxes relative to certainly other countries. West Virginia does not have what Alaska has, a permanent fund. Alaska said, we've got this natural resource, oil. We got a whole bunch of oil, and we own it. We're Alaska. We got this oil. And when we sell it to the oil companies, we're going to take that money and put it in a multi-billion-dollar fund, and then take the interest out of that fund, and every year send a check for $2,000 to every citizen of the state of Alaska. And they've been doing this for decades. West Virginia could have done this with coal starting 100 years ago. But they never did, because that would be socialist. That would not be libertarian.